Hey everyone, today on People Now, Harvey Weinstein victims win a multi-million-dollar settlement. We have details.
Over 200,000 people signed a petition to block a Paris Jackson film where she is playing Jesus.
Exclusive details about Harry and Meghan's emotional visit to a charity in Los Angeles.
Until it actually happens personally to you, you cannot click and understand and really understand.
SNL star Pharoah opens up about how an encounter with police on the street has forever changed his perspective.
Plus, boom,
boom, boom, boom.
boom, boom,
Wow.
boom. The viral girl group Run the World has given us a little dance tutorial and telling us about their new music.
It's all today on People Now. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to People Now. I'm Andrea Boehlke. Hope you're having a great Wednesday so far. Jeremy, what's new? What's good in your world?
Can you believe it's July 1st?
I can't.
Unbelievable, seriously. I mean, it's unbelievable that the summer is flying by in this kind of wild world we're living in. Hey, there's a lot to get to today. Pharoah and I had an interview very recently, and he just has this really compelling story, a life-changing experience he had when he encountered police. He also has some really great projects coming up. He has the ability to be hilarious but serious at the same time. So that's coming up later in the show. But here's where we start. Here's what you need to know and what's trending for today. According to officials and attorneys for women who alleged convicted rapist Harvey Weinstein was a sexual harasser and abuser, a nearly $19 million settlement has been reached. The New York Attorney General's office announced on Tuesday that the settlement would create an alleged victims compensation fund. It still waits approval from bankruptcy and district courts later this year.
The payout would resolve the Attorney General's February 2018 lawsuit against the Weinstein Company, Harvey and his brother Bob, for maintaining a hostile work environment at the company, and a separate potential class action lawsuit brought on behalf of women who were allegedly sexually harassed and assaulted by the disgraced film producer.
In a press release, Attorney General Letitia James says Harvey Weinstein and the Weinstein Company failed their female employees. After all the harassment, threats, and discrimination, these survivors are finally receiving some justice. James calls the agreement a win for every woman who has experienced sexual harassment, discrimination, intimidation, or retaliation by her employer.
As part of the settlement, women who signed NDAs related to sexual misconduct by Weinstein will be released from those agreements. According to NBC News, attorneys for several other women who have accused Weinstein of sexual misconduct not involved in this case said the agreement is a complete sellout. But actress Caitlin Delaney, a plaintiff in the lawsuit, says in a statement, quote, "Knowing that we will help so many women who are long overdue for relief gives me hope that this settlement will continue to empower others to speak."
In March, Weinstein was sentenced in a New York City courtroom to 23 years in prison. He was convicted in February on charges of first-degree criminal sexual act and third-degree rape. He's currently serving his sentence at a prison in upstate New York. Weinstein faces more charges in an upcoming Los Angeles trial.
Over 200,000 people have signed a petition to ban the upcoming film Habit, in which Paris Jackson portrays the role of Jesus. The petition claims that the movie is blasphemous and calls it, quote, Christianophobic garbage. In the film, Jackson stars alongside Bella Thorne, who plays a girl with a Jesus fetish who gets caught up in a violent drug deal and sees a way out by masquerading as a nun.
The petition lists Warner Brothers and Lionsgate as its targets and claims that Jackson's rendition of Jesus will be, quote, lesbian. This isn't the first petition to try to block the film's distribution. A petition from 1 Million Moms claims the movie, which currently has no release date yet, is sacrilegious and, quote, mocks Christianity and ridicules people of faith. That petition has more than 69,000 signatures.
But there's one famous face in Jackson's corner amid the backlash, Sia. The singer showed her support on Twitter on Wednesday, writing, "Dear Paris Jackson, I love you. Keep going. I believe you are a good person."
Now, this news comes on the heels of news that Sia is now a grandmother of two. 1 month after revealing that she had adopted two teenagers who were aging out of the foster care system, the 44-year-old revealed her youngest son had welcomed children of his own. During an interview on Zane Lowe's Apple Music show on Tuesday, the singer spoke about her new role. She said, "I'm just immediately horrified. No, I'm cool. They call me Nana. I'm trying to get them to call me Lovey, like Kris Jenner. I'm like, call me Lovey." That was her quote.
During the interview, Sia also spoke out about her decision to adopt, explaining that while her sons actually could have remained in foster care until they were 21, she wanted to get them out of the system so they could have a more stable life. She says her sons have been in 18 different locations in their 18 years.
Well, she went on to add that her sons both experienced conditioning and complex trauma while in foster care. In response, she's enrolled them in trauma programs. Sia later grew emotional while discussing the massive part her two sons played in teaching her about race and privilege. She explains that she's embarrassed that it took her adopting two black sons to really understand what they go through on a daily basis. And she added that she's grateful to have a successful career that can provide support and care for her kids.
In this week's issue of People, we are learning more about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's emotional visit to a charity in Los Angeles on June 23rd. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex volunteered at Homeboy Industries, which supports people moving on after incarceration or gang involvement.
During their visit, the couple spent time making baked goods for the community and learning about the group's members. And according to the group's founder, Father Greg Boyle, Meghan spoke perfect Spanish and was quite impressive. He says, quote, "She spoke Spanish perfectly with one young woman, and she just went right into Spanish, which was a revelation, and it was very good." That was his quote.
Meghan, who studied at Northwestern University, picked up her Spanish-speaking skills during an internship at the U.S. Embassy in Buenos Aires, Argentina. But she wasn't the only one to surprise the group. When a woman cried while speaking about the death of her son's father, Harry threw his arms around her and held her for comfort.
Boyle says that during the couple's visit, they were completely engaged and very informal, and he adds that Meghan didn't want to have a long table discussion, presentation, or even a tour. She told him, "We want to come and put on an apron," and that's what they did.
Although Boyle jokes that Harry's baking skills were a bit subpar to Meghan's, he says they made sure to connect with each person in the room, both separately and together. Boyle adds that a couple of times they'd be separated at one table or another, but then they'd also find their way to each other. He says it was just sweet. They seemed to have a good time together.
In this week's People Cover story, we're looking into the mysterious deaths of two childhood friends on the island of Anguilla as their family members search for answers.
It was in December 2018 when Casey McPherson Pomeroy and his wife Barbara invited Caleb and Carly Guillory and another couple to their apartment on the island to ring in the new year. But by midnight, the two men were both dead.
The island's coroner determined that the two were poisoned with a lethal dose of methylene-deoxyamphetamine, also known as MDA, or its street name, Sally, and cocaine. But neither man was known to use drugs. Meanwhile, Caleb's death certificate stated that he suffered from asphyxia, strangulation, and chest compressions, while Casey cited seizures and cardiac and pulmonary distress.
The four witnesses to the deaths, wives Barbara, Carly, and the other couple, Chuck Rose and wife Alicia, refused to return to the island to tell what they know. They all either declined through an attorney or did not respond to multiple requests by People magazine to be interviewed.
Casey's sister, Deputy McPherson Udall, who has retained lawyers in Anguilla and a private investigator, tells us, quote, "I think they all have something to hide."
The story Barbara and the others first told police was laid out by Barbara's attorney, Marshall Whitney, in a letter dated November 20th, 2019, with her claim to Casey's life insurance policy. It states that Barbara, Casey, and Caleb went to a beach bar and shared a single rum and coke, but left the drink unattended when they went looking for Casey's missing flip-flop.
Later on, Alicia called police from the apartment to report that one of her friends was not breathing. When police and EMT arrived, they found Caleb motionless and already dead. Casey was found in the bedroom having a seizure. He died later at the hospital. Now, the letter also states that Barbara feels this was no accident and that someone intentionally tainted their drink at the bar. The police report states that based on the abnormal behavior of the four witnesses, they were all placed in police custody for 3 days, but when released, they all left the island.
Casey's father, Charlie McPherson, tells us, quote, "I really want to know what happened because there is still speculation that the islanders poisoned him." Sister Debony says that the island of Anguilla and the U.S. State Department will only communicate with Barbara and Carly because they are next of kin. She says, quote, "There's a lot of secrets, a lot of things hidden. We just want to know the truth of what happened."
Also in this week's issue, country star Granger Smith is opening up about how he and his family are moving forward 1 year after the tragic drowning of his 3-year-old son, River.
River drowned last year after he somehow opened the family pool's childproof lock when Smith's attention was diverted towards his older kids, Lincoln and London. Smith tells us that he will forgive himself one day, but he is, quote, "not there yet," adding that his mind still goes into an endless loop of what-ifs and could-haves. His wife, Amber, echoes that feeling, admitting that you can sometimes think that you are doing great and then it will, quote, "hit you out of nowhere that he's not here." She calls it a daily battle.
But the family is trying their best to see the positives in this tragedy whenever they can. Amber explains one of them is how it brought their family closer together and how the couple now feels free to talk, quote, "much deeper about hard things." Smith, meanwhile, heartbreakingly reveals in the issue, quote, "I feel like I've died," but he adds, "It's not a bad thing that me died. In fact, I think it's all good. It's only good." Smith goes on to say that he's truly shed layers, explaining, "I feel wiser. I feel more in tune spiritually."
Looking back at the tragic day, Smith also wants to remind everyone about the dangers of drowning, calling it so silent. Smith adds there's often no splashing or gurgling or kicking, and reveals that when River entered the pool that day, there wasn't even a splash.
Smith now honors his son with a tattoo of River's name on his right arm, which he got shortly after River's death. the father and son had a tight bond and reminisces in this week's issue about his routine of putting River to bed each night and waking him up each morning.
Smith returned to touring shortly after the tragedy, saying he made that decision because he knew returning to his music would be a critical part of his healing process. But he says it took him a long time to actually enjoy the music at all and even care about a concert. We're really glad he's speaking out about all of this. For more on Granger Smith, you can pick up a copy of People on Newsstands Friday.
All right, guys, stay with us. John Legend is answering fan questions about what can be done to heal America in this current moment. Plus, we are talking with Jay Pharoah about his new comedy and getting serious, too, as he gives his take on what's going on in America today.
What's up, YouTube? Back with another video, back with another banger, back with another reaction. Man, let's get it.
First Time Hearing, Twins: The New Trend is a YouTube series for appreciation of all music genre classics. The series is presented by twins Tim and Fred Williams. They're from Gary, Indiana. Now, the video series finds the Williams twins giving their heartfelt thoughts about songs they admittedly might have never heard. The twins grew up listening to rappers such as Twista and Lil Wayne. They recently discovered artists like Freddie Mercury and Queen, Luther Vandross, Tom Jones, opera singer Pavarotti, as well as Aerosmith. The music was an escape for the twins growing up. Tim came up with the idea for the series. His goal was to broaden the duo's music repertoire. He says, quote, "We wanted to start a new trend to appreciate old music. We're open to all genres. We also want to bring people together because there's no color to music." With their makeshift bedroom studio, Tim and Fred give viewers their sincere reaction to songs like their recent homage to Jolene by Dolly Parton. Take a listen.
Jolene, Jolene, Jolene.
Love that though.
Now, with over 75,000 YouTube subscribers tuning in for the funny and binge-worthy moments, Tim and Fred are using their voice to bring people together. And for more of Tim and Fred Williams, you can check out their YouTube series, First Time Hearing, Twins: The New Trend. David Foster and his 3 daughters, Erin, Jordan, and Sarah, are opening up in this week's issue of People about life, love, and so much more. As social distancing continues, the family's finding ways to come together. A new tradition of Family Sundays has been started, where they all share a glass of wine in the backyard of Erin's Los Angeles home. Sounds really nice. The documentary about David's life and career is streaming now on Netflix, and David admits to us that it was hard to watch people open up about their experiences with him, but he wanted it to be true. He says that he didn't want it to be a puff piece about his work and have people think that he's an amazing guy, because he says, "I'm sometimes not an amazing guy," and that came through loud and clear. And while his relationship with his daughters has evolved over the years, David admits that divorcing the trio's mother, his second wife, Rebecca Dyer, made a few things about fatherhood difficult.
And probably just living separately.
Living
that's
separately.
Just geographically, that just creates.
The geography was really tough.
Yeah.
And that was of my own doing, and a regret that I have, which I talk about in the documentary. But it was what it was, and there was no changing it. So I did the best I could, which was quite imperfect at times. And plus, I worked so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made a pound of music in my life. And look, I mean, that's...
You lived in the studio, that's what Mom
Yeah, I
said
lived
about
in the
you.
studio, yeah. And I mean, let's not take anything away from anybody that works hard, okay? I mean, the man or woman doing construction all day, they come home after like a 10-hour day, like in the heat, and they've just been lugging stuff. Or the jackhammer guy, and a lot of people have tough jobs, and sometimes Saturday morning comes and they're going to the construction worker, "Dad, come on, it's my soccer game, let's go." It's like, son, my back I'm just worn out. And so it's not just something that's reserved for somebody that's, successful in the music business or in the entertainment business. Yeah.
No, I think
It's a universal kind of thing.
universally parents are grinding, working hard, most people, more than one job, and being there for everyone is not easy.
David's love life has created many headlines over the years, most recently with his marriage to Katharine McPhee. The duo just celebrated their 1-year anniversary, but the 34-year age gap between the two raised a lot of eyebrows at the time of their union. David opens up about how he feels about the age difference, and his daughters weigh in on how they feel about the relationship.
The haters are going to be always haters. But the way I resolved it is, there's 10 things that can bring a marriage down. There's infidelity, there's geography, there's finances, there's kids, there's so many things that can bring a marriage down.
Remodeling.
Remodeling, right, building a house. And, only one of them, one of the 10, is an age difference. And so if we feel like we have the other 9 right, that we're really solid on the other 9, so the one is not going to
And if anyone's
break
gonna
us up.
have an issue about your age difference, it would
should be you
your
guys.
daughters who are older than her. And I just, I can't.
I mean, I have an issue with how hot she is.
I have an
honestly.
issue with how attractive she is.
When she comes over for family Sundays, I'm like, do not get in a bikini.
All of our husbands just like
Nobody wants you in your bikini.
they just hang on the side,
Cover
like,
up.
ogling her, especially
Even
guys.
my 2-year-old
Yeah.
son is like,
Yeah. My husband's always like, Kat, get in the pool. And I'm like, Simon.
He does ask her to get in the pool a lot.
Yeah. So that's really our biggest issue with her.
But it's like, guys, she's not, 20. She's a 36-year-old grown woman. So the way that we portrayed it, like, oh my God, she's a grown-ass woman. She'll
Yeah,
be
she's
40
not
in a
16
couple
years
years.
old.
Oh, I can't wait till that
She'll
moment.
be 40 in a couple years, which,
No, she's amazing and she's very evolved. And
Yeah.
imagine coming into this, meaning
yeah, it's a
not
lot.
that it's just a lot.
It's a lot.
Right? Plus,
It's
two
a
more
nightmare
daughters.
for her, for
and
sure.
No, I think she navigates it really, really well, and so do
does.
they.
Yeah.
So do they,
I
because
would
they
not wanna
could be horrible.
I would not want to be a woman coming into this.
But listen, I
don't
think
make it easy.
there are a lot of different kinds of father-daughter relationships and a lot of different kinds of women who could be in our position and a woman who could be in Kat's position. And, we've been through a lot with each other and we're arrived at a place in our lives where we're all happily in our own relationships. We want our dad to be happy in his relationship. We are not dating our dad, so we are not competitive with the woman who comes into his life. We want him to be happy, and it doesn't matter if she's our age or if she's his age, because we just want him to be with a good person. And the truth is, ironically, it's much easier for us to get along with someone who's our age because she's similar to us. She's someone who we would be friends with.
But we
That
guys-
actually makes it easier. Listen, it's interestingly, I think that the way that the age difference has played a role is in a positive way because generationally speaking, our generation of women were very outspoken, Kat included, very outspoken, very in touch with our emotions. And our dad comes from a generation that
women are more passive.
Yeah, women are more passive, and also you are passive yourself about your feelings. You're not. It's kind of like you stick it out. You put up with. You don't speak up. You don't say how you feel. And Kat has really pushed him to
tap
open
into
up.
that,
And
yeah.
we could get into a fight, and then Kat's like, "No, you have to pick up the phone, call your daughter back." She's a facilitator, which is really important, and she pushes him to be more emotional and more vulnerable. And honestly, we all need partners like that.
Yeah, true.
She
Good
pushes
point.
you to be
Yeah.
a better person.
That's
Yeah.
true.
She really pushes you to, which is all we want
Yeah, it's great.
from our partners.
It sure makes it easier for me that they get along.
Yeah.
And it's not a fleeting thing either. It's been, a few years.
For more from the Fosters, check out this week's issue of People, available Friday. In this week's issue, People's 2019 Sexiest Man Alive, John Legend, is talking directly to his fans about life, family, and his hope for change in America. Like many of us, John has been isolating with his family, his wife, Chrissy Teigen, their 2 kids, Luna and Miles. Fans had some questions about his life at home. Watch.
Amanda G says, how do you juggle being a husband, raising children, and working on your career at this time? Well, because of the pandemic and everyone being on lockdown, I've actually been home lately more than ever. I've done some work from home. I've done a lot of interviews from this very room, which is my dining room. And we've filmed The Voice from right here. I've done live performances from my piano. You've probably seen a couple of those as well. So I am working, but I'm able to do it from home, which means I get to see my wife and my kids more than I would normally see them. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. Joan Y says, do you ever get embarrassed when Luna or Miles interrupt your business Zooms? I saw she wanted to bring you a snack the other day. I don't really get that embarrassed. Everybody, understands that we're working from home, and the kids, as much as you want them to behave exactly how you want them to behave, sometimes they're gonna freelance. So occasionally, Luna will walk in on my Zooms and sit in my lap and wave hi, and I think it's charming most of the time. At what age will you start having the tough conversations with your children about what being Black in America may look like for them? I think we're gonna play it by ear. I don't know exactly when that's gonna happen, but I think we'll be able to tell. We'll be able to tell when Luna is ready for that conversation and when Miles is ready for that conversation. Luna already knows that she's Black. She also already knows that her mother's family is Thai, and we try to make her proud of her heritage, of the things that are part of our different cultures and part of our ancestry. So we already talked a little bit about it, but we haven't gotten into depth about what's going on in the news right now or some of the other challenges that come with being a person of color. So we'll get into it. It'll be a conversation I think that every parent has to have with their kids at some point, but you know, you want to wait till they're ready to process it.
Now, in the wake of George Floyd's death, John has been vocal about combating racial injustice and inequality in America. His fans asked him about his view of America, including what he would do if he were in charge.
Renee C. says, if you could be mayor or president for a day, what would you do first? Oh, there's so many things I want to do. Anyone that knows me knows I'm very outspoken when it comes to my political beliefs. I would want to drastically reduce our use of jails and prisons. I would want to take some of the funding that is currently going toward policing and spend it on other things that could be more beneficial to the community. I would make sure our schools were as good as they possibly could be, make sure everyone had health care, make sure everyone could go to college and afford to go to college. Those are just a few of the things that I would want to do. Jackie F. says, how are you addressing what's going on in the world right now with your white friends? When people ask, how are you, what do you say? When people ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm doing well. And I am doing well in the sense that I'm happy with my career, I'm happy with my family, and most moments in my day are positive moments. But that being said, it can be very frustrating watching the news. It can be very frustrating thinking about how we keep having these same conversations over and over again about abuse from the police, abuse from the criminal justice system. We really do need change, and that's something I've been focused on for a long time in my philanthropic work and my political work. But when moments like George Floyd's killing happen, it makes it even more urgent and more stark that change is needed. And I'm still doing fine, and when somebody asks me how am I doing, I'm telling them I'm doing fine. But too many people in our country aren't doing well, and for too long we've put up with a system that doesn't treat people of color equally, and that needs to change.
John and Chrissy are definitely one of the internet's favorite couples. They're pretty open about their lives on social media, but naturally, we still want more. His fans had plenty of questions on that front as well. Take a look.
Stephanie B says, what is yours and Chrissy's favorite thing to do as a couple? It doesn't need to actually be a date, just a thing where you look at each other and say, I wouldn't want to be doing this with anyone but you. Sometimes it's just, you know how in the song Conversations in the Dark, I have a new song from a new album, Conversations in the Dark, and I talk about just the little things, watching movies that we've already seen, just chilling on the couch, watching reality TV or something silly or something good, or just having a glass of wine after the kids go to bed. Those are some of the little things that are nice. We like to share those as a couple, and you need those moments, particularly after the kids go to bed. Mark H asks, any trick for alone time when there is too much family time? Well, we're lucky our house is big enough. I can retreat to this dining room, for instance, to do interviews like this. But I know that plenty of folks, you know, they don't have an extra room that they can do that in. And even if they do, their kids will come in like mine do sometimes. So it's hard to have alone time during this time. Maybe outdoors is a good place to do it.
To hear John Legend answer even more fan questions in the full episode of Dear John, you can check out PeopleTV.
Cut out the comedy show and just sell them cheese, DeAndre.
Yeah, you know, the problem is they don't just want cheese, huh? She don't want cheese, he don't want cheese, I don't want cheese, we want respect. And until I find it, I ain't gonna stop.
Oh, Denzel Washington.
Right.
Hey, do something else. No. Go cover my express line.
I don't want to cover the express line.
Oh, Tracy Morgan.
Guys, 2 Minutes of Fame. It's a comedy about a social media comedian chasing a stand-up comedy dream after going viral on the internet. To tell us more about that movie and a lot more, we're joined by the star, Jay Pharoah. Good to see you, man. Thank you for being here.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, brother.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, I want to just start before we get into that with, I know you've been talking a lot about just the current situation we're in and a lot of the protests and things that happen. What do you make of the moment we're in? What do you hope comes next?
Most of America's hoping for some change, man. That's what we really want. And it seems like with the ubiquitous uproar, it just seems like we're finally in those times where there can be some. And things are changing. People finally got a chance to pay attention, sit down and see what was happening. And now that we've had even more time to digest that, it even makes us even more angry what's happening. And injustice can't stand anymore. So that's why you have so many people on the streets protesting, because it's just like a soda that's been shaken up and now the top is popping off. So.
Yeah, and I know you've talked a lot about your encounter, and I don't want you to recount that again. I know you've said it a lot. The video's out there about what happened with you and police, Ventura Boulevard. You ended up getting thrown down, knee in the neck, cuffed, all because you matched a description, supposedly.
Yeah, like I said, supposedly.
Right.
And that's something that, it wasn't I don't know what it was, but I know that they told me I matched the description.
Well, how did that experience change you? Like, how did that shift your perspective?
I had always heard about these things and seen them done to people, and which did infuriate me. But until it actually happens personally to you, you cannot click and understand and really understand. So it's changed me to make me, I've opened my eyes, and now I know what it is to just be a Black person in America, because this is what it is.
Thank you for your perspective. Really appreciate that. This comedy, so funny. What did you really connect to the most?
I connected to the story of the son believing in the father. Whereas it seems like the man is always he's got to be the provider. He's got to get it done. But for the son in the film, Johnny, to actually believe in my character more than I did, honestly, and more than anybody else did, that's what I connected to. Because so many times, man, I remember when I was on the come up, and I told my ex back in the day, I was like, yo, I'm gonna do this, like I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna be on television. She was like, well, what if that doesn't happen? And it's like, oh, you're not the one. Okay.
It just became very clear.
It really revealed itself, but I'm glad you said that. Thank you so much. A funny thing, and no, she's a great person, but I got SNL because me and her got in a fight.
Really?
A verbal, yeah. We had broke up. It was a blow up. I said, I'll show you, and then.
Wait, it propelled, that gave you the motivation? Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Okay.
It did. I said, oh, you gonna feel this one.
I know fear, and it's all in your eyes. Yeah. And what you're really scared of is failure, because you convinced everybody around you to believe in you.
In this movie, one of the first things we learn is your character's got this rivalry with Katt Williams,
yes,
which would be epic for anyone, but he means a lot to you, right? Like, in terms of growing up in the world of comedy. And then I heard, like, the next level thing that happened during filming, he invited you into his trailer, and you had a kind of a big moment.
So yeah, we're right beside each other. You know what I mean? I'm thinking it's Katt Williams. I've watched all his specials, so wow, it's California, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna walk in there, right? So I go over there. It was like, can you come in my trailer? I said, yeah, I'll come in there, So I came in his trailer, and he said, Jay, my children want to take a picture with you. That's why I called you in here. I was like, what? Unbelievable, because I know at that age, they're like 15, 16, 14. Around that age, I had the same reaction to Katt Williams. Like, I would have loved to take a picture with him. And the fact that his kids wanted to take a picture with me at that time, it was like a come around moment for me. Like, man, I am on the path that I'm supposed to be on. And it is such a cool callback to just have an experience like this.
Keke Palmer, we've had her on the show. She's one of my favorite guests that we've had on People Now. She's so funny. She's so talented.
Yeah.
Talk to me about working with her. What was your favorite thing?
So talented, nice lips, they're great.
Right. Little some kissing going on, right? That's not bad.
Nice and soft. She is Keke Palmer. You know, I look at her road. I look at her whole journey, man. And to watch her from Disney to getting like now, she's been one of those child stars that has kept her sanity. And you know, because you know, a lot of them lose their mind.
Off the rails.
They go off the rails. But she hasn't done that. She's a superstar, man. So humble.
Also, Keke's got those characters she does. I could just imagine the two of you sitting around and just back and forth.
Let me tell you this. She has got the best Angela Bassett impression I have seen in my life. And it kind of baffles me. I was totally incredulous to the fact that she was in a movie with Angela Bassett playing a daughter. I said, well, there you go. You cheated.
Like, no wonder you could do it so perfectly.
I've never been in a movie with Denzel and played his son. I've never had that. I've had to struggle. I've had to study off screen. You had on-job training. You know what? Forget you. You're so talented. She's so talented, man.
Let's quick talk about this. You've got this new Nickelodeon game show, Unfiltered. What are you most excited about for that? You're going to be hosting it, right?
I'm excited because it's a new beginning. It's a new opportunity to cultivate a lot of different fans from a younger demographic.
You're right. It does. It's like it ingrains into this new generation, because I will never forget the Nickelodeon shows, Guts, Family Double Dare, that. I mean, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Do you remember Salute Your Shorts?
Yes!
Yo, Salute Your Shorts. Hey dude. What would you do? Clarissa Explains It All.
Those are staples. Yeah.
Yes. I'm happy to be one of those people now. It's like, oh yeah, I remember, dude. Oh, he did this and he did this and he did this. It's like a reverse Kenan Thompson thing. It was like he was on Nickelodeon first, then he went on SNL.
Right, now you're doing the opposite. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're doing. Final thing. And I'm sorry to do it, but when you're waking up in the morning, if you're getting pumped, is there a go-to impression maybe before a show, something that you do to get in the zone? Or is it all just second nature now? You don't even have to think.
It's really all second nature. Like I'll let you know what my life is like. If there's a show on or something like that, like I was watching The Dark Knight Rises the other day, and I was talking like Bane for like at least 16 hours. Like I was just talking like Bane for 16 hours. You adopted the darkness. I was born in it, molded by it. By the time I was exposed, it was bright. Like,
that's actually really impressive. Would not have expected it.
Hey, man, I have over 200. Man, I was on my live last night. I did Tom Cruise. I did a Bane, and I did Joaquin Phoenix's version of the Joker.
Okay, wait. I don't think I've seen the Tom Cruise. Like, what is it in a certain era?
Well, Tom Cruise basically just talks like this, and he breathes a lot. There's something hot going down. It's going to happen. You just got to get ready for that.
And then when I go into, well, hello, Murray. Do you see what it's like out there, Murray? You know what it is. Everybody just yells at each other. They just expect us to sit there and take it like good little boys, and we won't werewolf. So I've been, whatever.
I like that. You're working through genres. You're working through.
Dude.
So good, my friend.
Yeah.
It's so good to talk to you, man. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the voices there.
Thank you so much, brother.
And guys, you can check out Jay Pharoah in 2 Minutes of Fame. It's available on demand. Check it out.
2 Minutes of Fame. You have to watch it. It's an amazing movie. It's so good. So absolutely phenomenal and good.
If it isn't the shrill little shoe thief.
Oh, Oscar de la Renta.
Where are my heels?
Oh, I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh.
Guys, Modern Love actor and Big Mouth writer Brandon Kyle Goodman starring in the new Netflix film Feel the Beat. But before we get into all that, we want to talk about this.
I wanted to come on here and make this video about Black people being murdered in America.
Brandon has emerged as a really powerful voice in the Black Lives Matter movement, sharing powerful messages on social media, really rallying beside many frustrated people who are feeling the pain of injustice and wanting change. He joins me now to talk about all of it. Brandon, good to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
And I don't want to distract from the important stuff, but we were just talking about the fiddly fig. You're a plant guy.
I'm a plant guy. I got 7 over here, and I'm just really impressed with that fiddle. They're hard.
Well, I do want to ask you about this because you are, pouring yourself into all of these discussions and using your platform to give other people voices. That can be an exhausting thing. And I wonder for you, how are you doing and how do you kind of stay energized and healthy mentally and everything else in the midst of it?
I'm still learning. I'm still trying, this is a new amount of attention. So I am still figuring out what my process is. It involves rosé. It involves some 90s black sitcoms. And it involves my plant and my dog, taking care of my fiddle.
I like that you call yourself a plant. You're a plant zaddy, right?
A plant zaddy.
Officially.
Yes, please. Officially.
We're like a month into this, really a global uprising. As the time goes on here, are you more hopeful or less hopeful about the future in terms of enacting real change, maybe this time around?
I think from my years in therapy, I think if you don't have hope, then you don't really have anything. So I think I'm always hopeful, but I think there's caution in that hope. And the caution comes from, I'm not obviously gonna get complacent, but I don't want people to get complacent and think it's all done. Like a lot of real intense work has to happen. So I am hopeful that people are down for it, but I'm also cautious.
And I guess from your perspective, if you could speak to that a little bit, what do you think needs to happen to kind of keep momentum going?
I think a lot of things need to happen, but what I keep saying is it's a personal choice. Individuals have to make a personal choice that Black Lives Matter. We all have to make a personal choice that the system doesn't work and we want it to change. It's not just gonna be like when somebody posts something that you're like, oh yeah, I gotta do something. It's like, no, every day, this is now a part of my lifestyle, and part of my lifestyle, and I'm talking about non-Black and white people, is that I care about Black Lives Mattering. And I'm going to do whatever I can every day to not just push, but like grab that needle and shift.
And I also wanted to include the LGBTQ community in this. As someone who is part of the LGBTQ community and of course the Black community, where do you see some of these equality issues intersecting?
I think for a long time inside the LGBTQIA community, there has not been an acknowledgement of race. And it's been a fight to get the community to acknowledge that race does play a part of the experience of those of us who are queer. We don't have the luxury of separating our race from our queerness. They intersect and they are a part of the experience, and it's important to acknowledge that.
And we're hearing more and more about how Black trans women are disproportionately victims of violent crimes. Talk some about that. You've raised some awareness about the struggles of Black trans women on your platform. What do you think needs to happen next? What do people need to be aware of?
I think in our society, we have a problem where we don't credit women, period. And then Black women and then Black trans women, it's like we just don't care. And that isn't acceptable anymore. So I think it's raise your voice, speak up, don't be afraid to speak up, and take the necessary steps.
Guys, you can follow Brandon on his Instagram to get even more information on all that. I want to shift gears now, before we run out of time. Talk about some of the projects you're working on that you've done. You're starring in the new Netflix film, Feel the Beats. What drew you to that? Did playing that character change you in any way?
Oh yeah, 1000%. Deco's the character I play, and he is so authentically and organically himself. He sits in his Blackness, he sits in his queerness, he's unapologetic about it. And I took that with me. There's no discussion of his Blackness or queerness in the movie. He just exists and he accepts people and they accept him. And I was like, oh, I want to live from that space of fearlessness.
And you joined the writer's room for the Netflix show Big Mouth. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How's the show going to be inclusive in its 4th and 5th seasons?
I think that inclusion has always been a part of their conversations. So when I joined them in season 4, it was about how do we expand who these stories are about and take them off of the cisgender white protagonists and tell some stories from our queer characters and our characters of color. And we just continue that in season 5 as well. Really giving the characters storylines that aren't oppression-based narratives, right? That are really about them and what they're going through, as opposed to I'm gay and that's hard and which it is, but like that we do other things. As I said, I have 7 plants. I have other things besides my gayness.
7 plants. You're a plant zaddy, you got a dog. You love rosé.
I love rosé. Like I do other things.
So boom,
Boom, boom, boom.
boom, boom,
Round.
boom. This one comes around. Boom.
And then you wave it to this, and then go power.
A new girl group is on the rise. That was Run the World, teaching me one of their new dances. The group includes social media influencers Karis Rogers, Haley LeBlanc, Jesselyn Grace, and Corinne Joy, and they have a new song out. Take a listen.
You can have a rainbow right here. You can have a rainbow right here.
Rainbow is fun, it's catchy, but the song has a sweet message, and the girl shared with me its true meaning.
It was originally inspired by kids in Europe who were putting rainbows on their windows, but this is a really cool fact, in support of health care workers at the beginning of COVID.
Oh, wow.
So that's a really sweet fact about it. That's really cool. And that's how Rainbow was inspired, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it was basically just to shed light on everyone else because right now it's a lot going on in the world. Unfortunately, it is. But we just want to put out something that's gonna make everyone smile, put a smile on everyone's face because right now everyone is kind of just like, oh my gosh, like what is going on?
Will definitely get stuck in your head too, no doubt.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel happy and upbeat.
All 4 girls are extremely talented with big careers ahead of them, no doubt. And they tell me which artists they look forward to working with in the future. I'm just gonna hit your name and then you go. We'll start with you, Haley.
Can I name 2 people?
Yes.
Ariana Grande and Conan Gray.
Woo! Good ones. All right, Karis.
DJ Khaled and Beyonce.
Woo! Goodness, good ones. Jesselyn.
Bruno Mars and this artist that I like to listen to now, Nicki. She's really cool.
Nice. All right, Corinne.
Probably Billie Eilish or Beyonce, probably.
And to help their fans get to know them a little better, we played a quick round of People Now Confess Sesh. What does a Run the World group chat look like?
Oh my gosh.
Jesselyn.
It's filled with a bunch of random stuff and like random conversations, but then it's so funny at the same time. So like when you just open up the group chat, you're like, what is this?
Is it like, are you guys like lots of GIFs or is it lots of emojis or is it other thing? I mean, what's the, what'd you say?
All of the emojis.
Yeah, just like no words.
Corinne uses the most emojis.
She uses the eyes and the tongue.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's this emoji combination. It is so funny.
All of these.
There we go.
Emojis. Oh,
there we go.
It's mostly my memes and my emojis, Jesselyn's sweet conversations with us.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Haley has all of the receipts for all of this.
Yeah.
It's like, you better watch out. Here it is.
There's Haley talking about what we're doing next, and she knows what we're doing.
I usually send like,
Karis is with me.
Do you have like the Zoom call? And I'm like, yeah.
So here's the next question in our Confess Sesh. If you could have any other career, what would it be? Jesselyn, we'll start with you.
I really want to be a news anchor when I grow up.
Oh, cool. Good for you. All right, Corinne.
Probably a police officer.
Oh, awesome. Okay, Karis.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I've always had the same dream my whole life. I don't know.
What's it? Okay, wait. You've always had the same dream, which is what?
Being a model in action.
Ooh,
Nice. All right. And then Haley.
I'm gonna say I don't know. Oh, a fashion designer, probably.
Fashion designer. There you go. All right, I can see it.
She could design Karen's clothes when she goes on Vogue.
See?
Oh, boom.
Next question. Maybe this is tough, maybe not. First celebrity crush. Mine was Kate Beckinsale. You probably don't even know who that is. She's a very successful actress back in the day.
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber? All right.
Oh, I want to say mine because okay. Okay, it was Ed Sheeran.
Nice. All right. Wait, why are you so embarrassed about that? Ed Sheeran's a very talented dude.
I loved his music. It was more of like his music.
I can't even remember. I am pretty sure it was Zac Efron because like the first time I saw the High School Musical movie, I was like,
Guys, oh my God, it will always be Michael Jackson. He is so cute.
Well, very old school. Okay.
I don't think
One more question.
actually like met someone who thinks Michael Jackson is attractive, but I love it.
And before we wrap things up, we had to try their new dance one more time. I gotta admit, pretty much nailed it. Wait, hold on. Final time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Boom. That was perfect. You got it.
All right, coming up tomorrow, we're talking to Alicia Silverstone and the young cast of the Netflix series that is reimagining a classic, The Babysitter's Club.
Plus, Anthony Porofsky reveals how much of the new season of Queer Eye was filmed before coronavirus hit. And we've got the details on his adorable foster pup. So cute. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Bye, guys.